Grove Church, we love celebrating baptisms. We never get tired of seeing life change, and baptism is the outward expression of someone's inward decision to follow Jesus. I wonder if that's your next step. If you're interested in baptism or you think that it might be your turn, then I want you to scan the QR code below. See, we believe that baptism is a great opportunity for the church to celebrate what God is doing, saving people. And to be honest, it's why we do everything that we do. It's why we serve. It's why we give our first and best. It's why we plant churches. It's why we reach others. It's why we serve our community. It's why we cultivate faith, is to see others fall in love with Jesus. If it's your turn to take that step of baptism, scan this QR code, and we can't wait to celebrate it with you.
What's up, church family? Break at the Lake 2024 this year is May 27th through May 31st. This is an incredible week for your students entering 7th grade and graduating 12th grade. Hey parents, you want to save that on your calendar and go ahead and set your alarms for midnight on March 6th. If your student is the first one to sign up, they get to go 100% for free. If they're the 5 students that sign up afterwards, they get $100 off. Don't miss this incredible experience and join us for Break at the Lake 2024.
Good morning, Grove Church. My name is Rachel, and I want to welcome you this morning. We're so thankful that you decided to spend your Sunday here with us. At the Grove, it's so important to us that we connect with you. That's why inside of the program you received, you'll find a connection card. We want to encourage you to fill that out so we know how we can be praying for you, celebrating with you, and connecting with you. You can also scan the QR code and fill that card out right on your phone. And if it's your first time visiting with us, we also have a gift for you. So please, as you drop off your connection card on the way out, make sure to stop by the Welcome Center and grab that free gift. Now, here's a few announcements.
Hey Grove Church, Pastor Barry here. I want to tell you about an opportunity where you can stay local, yet serve global. Our mission partners down in Jeremy, Haiti have a school, Caracoli Christian School, and they're in need of school supplies. So as a Grove Church, what we're gonna do is we're gonna gather all the school supplies we can. We're gonna bring them to the church. We're gonna ship them down by boat to get to Jeremy, Haiti, so these students have what they need. Over 300 students are in great need. And now you can meet this need by staying local, serving global. Grove Church, everything you need to know, all the information about what to buy, when to bring it, and where to bring it is at the information below. So together, let's serve globally. Thank you so much, Grove Church, for all that you do.
Grove Church, we can't thank you enough for your continued financial support. It's because of your generosity that we're able to reach our community, serve others, and share the love of Jesus. We have a few simple and secure ways to give. You can give online on our website or the Grove Church app, or you can fill out the envelope in your program and drop it off in one of the giving boxes on the way out.
Hey everyone, so glad you're here. As we kick off our brand new series, You're Invited. We got a special treat for you today, my friend and mentor. You've heard me talk about this guy. I've gone on trips and adventures with this guy, and if I were ever to die in the outdoors, it'd probably be because of this guy. So let's welcome my friend and mentor, Dan Kellogg.
I absolutely love to fish. I don't know that you guys like to fish, but I like to fish. The picture on the screen you see is a lake that I took my wife on just a couple of years ago. We took a vacation. I was so excited. I convinced my wife that she loved to fish too. And so when we love to fish, I'm talking about a 12-hour day fish. I fish all day. And there's certain fish that I know how to fish better than others. And my wife's from Minnesota and I'm from Washington. And she taught me that there's this cool fish called the northern pike. If you've ever caught one, it's like a freshwater shark. Amazing, and it's so cool. They just attack the lure. And I learned how to catch northern pike. I knew, and I found out there was this lake in Idaho that's full of northern pike. I mean, so full of northern pike that they actually are poisoning the northern pike. They are trying to get rid of them, so there's no limit on them. You can catch as many as you want to. So I was so pumped, man. I'm going to this lake to catch fish. And so I took my wife. We got an Airbnb, and we went in and we went fish, and we fished all day long. 12 hours all day long. No fish. I was a miserable failure as a fisherman. You ever been there? The story I want to dig into today in the book of Mark is the story of some brothers who were really good fishermen that had a really bad day fishing. In fact, they fished all night because they would fish the 12 hours, 6 to 6. They would fish all night long, and they fished all night and didn't catch anything. Can you imagine what it felt like that day for them? I want to get to heaven and ask them, hey, was this like the worst fishing day you ever experienced? All I know is this was a bad day for them. And this is where we pick up the story in Mark chapter 1, verse 16. One day, as Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee. So to set the scene, remember? Jesus is walking along the shore. These guys have had the worst fishing day of their life. So where did this take place? Here's a picture. We just went there. We've gone there a couple times. If you haven't gone to Israel, Pastor Brad and Barry will take you to Israel. Are you guys interested? If you are, just write Israel somewhere down. They'll contact you. They'll put a trip together. I promise you, they'll put a trip together. It'll change your life. Amazing, amazing, amazing thing. So here's this place. It's amazing. This lake is huge. Sea of Galilee is huge. It's an amazing place. And what's cool about this place is that the boats still go out and fish. In Jesus' day, 300 boats fished in that day, every day. And in the Roman economy, this was the place where you got a lot of protein. And they would only eat protein once a week. Usually, it was some kind of salted fish that came from the Sea of Galilee. This was the cash cow of the area. And Jesus is walking along the Sea of Galilee. And here's what they were fishing. By the way, this is what they caught. The fishing is still good today. It's kind of cool. I ate one of those. That's a fish I ate. When you go there, you can eat. They still catch these same fish that they were catching at that time. That's what it looked like. And it's good even today. So the question, we go back to Mark chapter 16, verse 1, verse 16. Chapter 1, verse 16. Here's what it says. He saw Simon and his brother Andrew throwing a net into the water, for they're fishing for a living. So let me just remind you, these aren't guys that like were pretty good fishermen. This is what they did for a living. This is what they experienced. And they'd fished all night and nothing. And now what I love is that Jesus comes along and they're still casting their nets. You know what? These guys don't want to quit because they haven't caught anything. So Jesus sees them casting nets. He saw Simon and his brother Andrew. We know Simon as Peter. And so Andrew, we know is Andrew, but Simon, Peter, and Andrew, these two guys, there's two brothers. So think about this. Think about these two brothers. What do we know about these two brothers? Well, we know a lot about Peter. Peter is he became this great leader. In fact, Jesus says, I'm going to build the church on you, Peter. You're going to be my next leader. So here we have Jesus walking along, and we find that he takes these two brothers, Peter, Simon Peter, and Andrew, and he says, I'm going to start this movement that's called Christianity. Now think about how cool it is that we get the story of these two guys that started a movement that today is 2.4 billion Christians, according to the Pew Research in 2020. And the next closest religion is Islam. 500 million away from Christianity. 1.9 billion is what Muslims have today. Christianity became a force from nothing, from these two guys that Jesus walks along the water and says, I'm going to make you guys leaders. You're going to start a movement that's going to change the world. It kind of reminds me of the two brothers that started a church in Titusville. I don't know. Kind of funny, isn't it? I mean, you think about it. Let's just contrast for a minute. Let's say Brad is a little like Peter. Like, he's a great leader. If you've been around him, he's a great leader. His capacity for leadership, he's doing stuff. Like, for most people, if you have 6 kids, that's all the leadership you've got in your life. But he has 6 kids, and then he has a restaurant, and then he has a church, and then he's like, he'd like to have another project. You got an idea? He'll do it. He's this incredible leader, and it's so cool. He's a great leader. Peter was that kind of guy, I think. He's just a leader. He's just a force to be dealt with. And you know what? Every once in a while, Peter said something he shouldn't have said. Does Brad ever do that? I'm just asking. I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. And I was thinking about this. Peter wasn't afraid to get out of the boat. Brad's not afraid to get out of the boat. And I kind of think he's a tough guy. In fact, I'm pretty sure he had tattoos. Peter, I don't know. It doesn't show any pictures, but I'm thinking he had tattoos like Brad has tattoos. And then, now just think of the other brother. Andrew comes along. What do we know about Andrew? Andrew was this guy, if you read the Bible, you'll see he's always bringing friends to Jesus. In fact, there's another story that says originally he introduced Peter, his brother, to Jesus. He brought him along. He's always bringing people. He's always got this cool thing. He has this, they have a lot of friends. So what do we know about Pastor Barry? Man, he's like the friends guy. Like, if you want to be a friend with him, because he is fun. Like, if you're going to go to a party, don't go with Pastor Brad. Go with Pastor Barry. He's going to have a party. We're going to have so much fun. He's like the guy. And I kind of picture that's what Andrew was. Now, I called him the sales department of the company. So here's Peter and Andrew. They had this fishing company. And Andrew, I think, is the sales department. And I kind of think that Barry is a little that way. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere in the Bible that Andrew was a stand-up comedian. Maybe, I don't know. Barry, Andrew, you know, they're kind of like each other. And here's what I love. Andrew wasn't always the guy, but he led and became an incredible leader. You don't have to be in charge to lead. That's the kind of leader that Pastor Barry is. It's amazing. And here's what I want to say. I'm so honored to be here. I'm so honored they let me come and have this moment. I'm scared that I'm going to mess it up, because what they're doing here is such good work. You guys have the best pastors in the country right here. These guys, I hope you honor them. If you live in Titusville and you're not coming here, what in the world is wrong with you? Isn't that true? This amazing movement's happened. I mean, just a few years ago, you were nothing. And you've come up from nothing. And it's not done. It's not just about this little location, but the churches that you're planning and this movement of recovery. I was sat in your recovery meeting Wednesday night. I mean, Pastor Will, unbelievable, just this amazing thing. And I watched the kids show up in the youth department. Wow. You should just be honored to be a part of this. And the kids, the stuff that's happened next door is way more important than what's happening now. Your kids are being introduced to Jesus Christ in a way that's fresh and new. It's so cool. I'm so honored to be a part of this. And then the other night, I got to be a part of the couples night, watch the teaching. Man, this is so neat. Now, I have to have a little confession here. I was a little worried that you would not accept me, because I was here one other time and I noticed that everyone on staff had tattoos. You guys know that? So I went out and I bought some tattoo sleeves. Because I was a little bit worried, but can I just be myself today? I have this tattoo. It's like this big. It's right here. It's like I'm a wimp. I'm just nothing compared to these guys. But I want to share with you from the story. Because what I love about this story is it's the story of a movement that you and I are a part of. Let's get back to the story. In verse 17, it goes on. It says this. Jesus called out to them. Remember, he's walking along the shore. He sees Peter and Andrew. They're still fishing. He calls out to them. He says, come follow me and I will show you how to fish for people. And I think it's kind of cool because they have failed all night at fishing. And Jesus says, hey, you want a new job? I'm going to show you how to fish for people. He was talking in their language. He understood. So I was thinking about this. What do you think they were feeling at that moment? What do you think they were feeling? I mean, if you fished all night and this is your job, and you're going to go home and tell your wife, hey, honey, I got nothing. We're on the edge. We're on the bubble. We may not make it. The fish I was counting on today to pay the bills, it didn't happen. I'm a failure. 300 other boats came in. They all had something. I had nothing. It's the worst day of fishing in my life. That's what they felt like. Maybe you feel like that today. I think what's so cool is our failures prepare us for His plan. And if you're here today and this is the worst day of your life, maybe it's the worst week of your life, the worst month of your life, and you have been dealing with stuff and your failures have been piling up on top of each other, and you wonder, what in the world? Why am I failing? Why can't I fish? I know I can fish, but my nets are empty. I want you to understand something. This is your day. God is calling you. He's changing your job. He's giving you a purpose you never dreamed you could have. It's amazing. And today is your day. Are you ready for a change? These ordinary men developed a brand new purpose. Look at verse 18. Verse 18 says, and they left their nets at once, and they followed Him. They left their nets, and they followed Him. What would it take for you to follow Jesus Christ? And what would it mean for you to follow Jesus Christ? What did He say? He says, follow me and I'll help you fish for people. Follow me and I'll help you fish for people. So what is it that means? What do you think it means to fish for people? I want to illustrate it. Because when I was 18 years old, I still remember on a hillside above Concanelli, Washington, and at a youth retreat, I gave my heart to Jesus Christ. And I said, I'm going to follow you. And He says, I'll help you fish for people. And I've been fishing for people my whole life. And recently I discovered a new kind of fishing. It's called hot water fishing. Hot water fishing. You know, I fished cold water fishing, but hot water fishing is unbelievable. It's in a hot tub. See, my wife and I, ever since we started to get married, you know, Pastor Brad and Shelley were sharing about having FaceTime, 15 minutes of FaceTime, and how hard it is for guys to have FaceTime. I learned early on, for me to have a meaningful relationship with my wife, I needed to have some FaceTime every day. And so we bought a hot tub. One thing I like about a hot tub is you go out in the middle of the dark, and you don't have to look at each other in the face. She can't tell if I'm looking at her. It's like, it's dark. And we talk every day. And so we've been going for every year, we're 46 years married. 46 years of marriage. Now, almost every night of our marriage, we go to the hot tub. We went to the hot tub last night. We went to one the night before. Every night of our marriage, we go to the hot tub. We talk. Now, one of the craziest things happened. Our church, I planted a church. We had a great time, and God's given us a lot of success. But I was in the middle of a building program, and it had a huge overrun. And the only way I could solve it was to sell my house and to let the church use the money from the equity of our house to finish the church. And so I just think my wife and I, she's so cool. She just follows along. And so we sold our house and we moved into an apartment. And the one thing we required out of an apartment was a hot tub. And this one apartment that we moved to had a huge hot tub. You could put 20 people in it, hot tub. And so I still remember the first night we left our house and all this, and we were talking, and we were tired, and I came home, and I went to my new little apartment that I'd never lived in before, and I was in this apartment, and we walked to the hot tub, and I was going, I hope nobody's there. I just want it to be us alone. And sure enough, we go around the corner, no one's in the hot tub. It's nice, it's dark, it's nice, no one's in the hot tub. We sneak into the hot tub, we get down, and I begin to talk to her, and it's just like normal. And all of a sudden, a group of teenagers with bicycles, and the thunder and lightning is just for effect, I guess. Yeah. So this group of teenagers, I mean, there was 10 of them or so. These teenage boys came riding around. I go, oh no, what are we getting into? And they're screaming and hollering and they're cussing. One of the kids says, jump the fence. He jumps the fence, he opens the gate, and now we have 10 teenage boys, about 14, 15 years old, out of control with their bicycles. They're riding their bikes into the pool, then they're riding their bikes into the hot tub, and then they're screaming and hauling, and it's just, this is my first night in the hot tub, and I was complaining to the Lord about the hot tub and our night and this whole thing. And all of a sudden, my wife looks up and says, Jack, is that you? I said, who are you? What? What are you talking about? Jack, is that you? She recognized one of these teenage boys was a preschooler that she taught in Sunday school. And she called Jack out. And Jack says, is that you, Audrey? Is that you, Miss Audrey? And the tone of everything changed. And Jack said, hey, boys, you want to meet our pastor? Now, what's funny is Jack's family had disintegrated. The marriage had fallen apart, and he had been a long ways away from God. And he said to us, he said, hey, I need to get back to church. Hey, guys, do you want to go to church with me next Sunday? And here we are, the first night. And we have 10 teenage boys out of control that are going to come to church next Sunday. Good luck, Sunday school teacher. And it started this hot water fishing that I can tell you was something that changed my life. I had 26 different nights that I recorded the stories from this hot water fishing. And I'll tell you about the second night. The second night didn't go quite as well. We got into the hot tub. There was a guy there. He was vaping. Pretty sure it was marijuana. He was vaping and he was talking, and we were there, and I said, hey, how are you doing? And he said, he tells us about his life. It was so funny. People undress, get in the hot tub, and tell you everything. Craziest thing. And we're sitting in the hot tub, and he says, oh yeah, I'm unemployed. Somebody fired me. I got fired, and I'm living here. I just moved in the apartment. My girlfriend had an apartment. I moved in with my girlfriend. And I said, hey, dude, are you looking for a job? I know somebody that can help you. I got a job. And he goes, you know what? I'm kind of liking not working right now. I got an unemployment check, and my girlfriend's got a good job. She's kind of paying the bills for me, so no big deal. I'm good. And I couldn't wait to see the girlfriend because we wanted to advise her, run for your life from this guy. We met her a little later on. That was our second night. That fishing trip didn't go very well. Third night, a coworker shows up. And this is kind of crazy because my wife worked Boeing, and she makes airplanes, so she has 20,000 other workers that show up. But this guy actually is a coworker in her group. And she's sitting in the hot tub, and usually you don't see your coworker in swimsuit. So it's like not something you really look forward to. And we're sitting in the hot tub, and this guy walks up and says, what are you doing here? And then Audrey said, well, what are you doing here? And here's this guy. He comes in. He has this tattoo on his chest with a time clock in a whirlpool that's going into a black hole. And I said, dude, what in the world does that tattoo mean? And we got to talking. And he said, man, my wife's divorcing me. My kids hate me. I've lost all my retirement. He was about our age. He was getting close to retirement. He says, I have to go to work. I hate my job. I hate my life. And the world is just ticking away. And I got nothing. You know, I was so privileged. Let me tell you about hot water fishing. That guy needed to hear a message of hope that night. I couldn't believe it. And after that night, I said, man, we're going to start writing some of these things down. And so we started writing things down. I want to write a book sometime about all the hot tub experiences. We met single moms, talked with little kids. We talked with teenagers, railroad engineers. One night, we even met a UFC ring girl. She stepped in the hot tub with Audrey and I, wearing barely anything, you know, buns out kind of program. It's church. This is Grove, right? We can say that. Is that all right? So she gets in the hot tub. Audrey doesn't even know what UFC is. And she says, I'm a ring girl. She doesn't know what a ring girl is. And then she says, I'm Polly, and I met my friend on Tinder. Would you like to meet him? So all of those things, my wife didn't know what any of those things meant. So she just shared Jesus with her. This girl loved my wife. Just had a great conversation with my wife. It was awesome. But one night, I had this crazy thing happen. My wife went to go down and see her best friend, one of her mentors, and I was stuck there alone, and I said, I'm just going to go unwind in the hot tub. And I went down to the hot tub, and I'm sitting in the hot tub just kind of praying and unwinding, and these two girls walk over. One, I wasn't sure whether she was a girl, might have been a transgender, but it was questionable. They were wearing barely anything. As they stepped in, the first thing they said to me is, hey, we're strippers. I thought, if that's how they're leading this conversation, where is this conversation going to go? And what in the world am I going to say to my wife when I go and tell her that I had a night in the hot tub with two strippers? How am I going to explain this to my wife? But I was thinking, I thought, you know, when else am I going to talk to a stripper? So I thought, I'm going to ask them some questions. So I just started asking questions. I asked him, hey, what's the moral lines for you? I know you're strippers and all this, but I said, do you care if I just ask you a bunch of questions? I don't want you to be offended, but I'm just going to ask you some questions. What's your moral lines? And then I asked him, I said, hey, what's it? Do you like your work? If you could make the same thing doing something else, would you do something else? Do you like what you do? I asked him about God. And it was kind of interesting when I asked him about God, they immediately said, there is no God. There's no God. When I asked them about, did they like their work? They said, oh, yeah, we like our work. We like our work. I asked them about marriage. They said, never. It's impossible. We're never going to get married. We don't need it. I asked them about what they thought about married men showing up. Wouldn't that be kind of weird? And she said, oh, no big deal. I asked them what they thought about men that look at them all the time as an object. What did that feel like? Asked them if they'd ever go out with a man. I said, never. And then I thought, I gotta get out of here. So I started sharing my belief in God. And then I said to them, if you believe there is no God, that makes you God. You get to make the rules. So I said, really, I believe in a God, and I submit to myself to him because I can't trust myself to be God. How about you? And then I said to them, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And then I blew them away when I said, I'm a preacher. I said, tomorrow when you go to work, tell them you were in a hot tub with a preacher last night. But then I said, I need to go. But before I go, let me tell you two stories. And I told them the story about the Samaritan woman. And I told the story about the woman caught in adultery with Jesus, how much he loved them. And as I stood up and I went to walk away, I said, I have one more thing I want to say to you. I want to apologize for every man that has mistreated you. Every man that has looked at you as an object, every man that has treated you like garbage. I want to apologize because it should not be that way. And not every man is that way. There's men that love God and that can live differently, and you don't have to put up with anything less. And I said, I want you to meet my wife. One night, maybe tomorrow night, she'll be back, and I want you to meet my wife. We have the best marriage. And if I could wish anything for you, I would wish that you would discover the kind of marriage that I have with my wife, because it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I wanted them to experience what I had experienced, what God had given me. In this moment, they started to weep. And then they stopped me before I left. And they asked this question: can we come to church? I said, no way. Just kidding. Come on, you guys. What would you say? Are they welcome in the Grove? They've been putting up with junk that they didn't have to put up with. They needed the hope. What I discovered is that the people that showed up in our hot water fishing hole needed God more than I ever knew they needed God. How about you? Where's your fishing hole? Here's the story. It goes on in verse 19. A little further up the way, Jesus saw Zebedee's sons, James and John, in a boat repairing their nets. I love this. There's two more brothers coming. And what does he do? Two more brothers. They'd failed all night too. It's kind of funny. The two groups of them were kind of connected to each other. And James and John they were all night fishing. And he says, come follow me. I want you to hear this today. God's saying that to some of you today. Maybe you're like some of those people that I met in the hot tub, and this is your day. You don't have to put up with less. God has so much more for you. Verse 20, he says, he called them at once, and they followed him, leaving their father Zebedee in the boat. I want you to think about what they did for a living. They took their nets and they caught fish. They took the fish and they took them out. They salted them. They sold them to the Romans. They sold them to the Roman government. They paid taxes on them. Every day they killed fish. Every day they went out and they fished for a living. That's what they did. What do you do for a living? You kill fish? What's the meaning of your life? Now, I know some of you are really, really uncomfortable right now. Jesus said, follow me. I want you to point something out. Some of you, some of us, at times, care more about a fish on a table in a service dying than we do about our neighbors. If you're following Jesus, you know what he's telling you to do? Fish for people. If you've ever wondered what your purpose in life is, that's what your purpose in life is. Your hot fishing hole is where God put you on purpose. Don't you ever forget it. If you're following him, you're fishing for people. I don't want to show you what's going to happen just now. Would you bow your head just for a moment? I'm praying for a miracle right now. I'm praying that God has prepared, I just have thought all day about this, that God has prepared somebody that is here in this service. He's prepared for you to be in this service. And this is your moment to fish for people. You say, I'm going to follow Jesus. And if you're here and this is your moment, and you've been in the middle of a failure and you need to follow Jesus and you haven't followed Jesus, and you want to do that today, I want you to raise your hand. No one else looking around, just raise your hand. Say, that's me. That's where I am. I want to just raise my hand. I love it. I love it. Awesome. 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 Okay, put your hands down. I just want you to pray this prayer. Lord Jesus, I invite you into my life. I am going to follow you. This is my day. Show me the way. Forgive me for my failures and help me follow you. In Jesus' name, amen. Now I want you to look at me. Here's what's going to happen. Some of you today have made that decision. You prayed that prayer. I think the coolest thing you can do is to be bold enough to stand. Now, just a minute. I'm going to have you stand, and when I count to 3, I'll have you stand. When they stand, do you know what the rest of the crowd does? We cheer. Are you guys ready to cheer? I mean, come on. This would be the best thing ever for someone to have made a decision to follow Jesus Christ. Wow. So if you're that person, when I count to 3, I'm going to ask you to be bold enough to stand. And in just a moment, we're going to watch someone step from this life into the next life in the coolest way. Would you just cheer in just a moment? On 3, ready? 1, 2, 3. Would you stand? Is there anyone that's bold enough? Look at that! Isn't that cool? Hey, look at that, you guys! That is so cool! That is so cool. Now, hey, I'm in trouble, aren't I? I'm like on 5 minutes over. Would you guys forgive me? But be really nice. Tell your children's teachers how cool they are. They're the best ever. But these guys that are standing, can I ask you to do one more thing? Pastor Barry, Pastor Brad, other pastors, would you come forward? I'd love for you to come meet them, but I want you to consider something. Would you consider making the day you go public today if you've not been baptized? Next service, it happens. You saw when it happened just a few songs in. I would love to celebrate that with you. We would love to celebrate that with you. If you're worried about getting wet, you're going to go outside and get wet. Get over it. Get over it. This is your moment. So I just want to challenge you. Is there anybody here that are standing? We want to celebrate. And you say, hey, I'd really think, I'm thinking today's the day. I'm going to take my wallet out a little later. We're going to figure this out. Next service, I'm going to get baptized. I want you to step out of the crowd and come forward, and you can get baptized today. Make it public. You've already made a big, bold step. Anybody ready to do that? Are you bold enough? We'll cheer for you. Anybody? Okay. Would the rest of you stand? And I'm just going to leave it open. If any of you at the end of the service want to do that, this is your moment. Can I challenge all the rest of you? Before you leave today, God's calling you to talk to somebody who's in your fishing hole. You need to write their name down. You need to pray for them. You have a message for hope and you don't even know they need it, but He's put them in your life. And I want to pray that they will be here on Easter Sunday morning, that you'll bring them to Easter services, and that will be the day of resurrection of their soul. So I invite you to do that. These pastors are forward to pray with you. And so I'm going to just close and pray. Lord Jesus, would you just bless this crew, Lord? Use them, Lord. Would you put it on their hearts, the people that you've got in their life? Help them as they follow you to really fish for people like you promised. And I pray this in Jesus' powerful name. Amen.
Thank you so much for joining us today at the Grove Church Online. We hope that service and that message was incredibly encouraging to you. Hey, I don't know where you are spiritually, but let me tell you what we believe. that God loves you and has a plan for your life. But because we've gone our own way, we live in brokenness. But the good news is that Jesus came and lived the life we couldn't and died the death we should have and rose from the dead, proving there's a way out of brokenness and towards God's plan for our life. If you're interested in learning more about how to have a relationship with Jesus, I'd encourage you to visit the link below. We'd love to connect with you and would love to help you take your next step in your relationship with God.